Picture a city where the very foundation is built on sin, where violence is commonplace and polygamy is the norm. This was the city of Babylon. Not just a thriving civilization, but a place where moral decay ran rampant, and the balance between humanity and the divine was completely disrupted. Babylon's ambition led them to challenge the heavens, trying to defy the natural order. But as we shall see, the cost of this rebellion was far greater than they could have ever anticipated. In this video, we will explore the history of Babylon, the Tower of Babel, and how this ancient story still serves as a powerful lesson for us today about pride, ambition, and the consequences of living apart from divine guidance. The tale of Babylon begins in the aftermath of Noah's flood, when humanity was given a fresh start. As Noah's descendants began to spread across the earth, they came upon a fertile valley in the land of Shinar, a place rich with resources. Here they decided to build a new civilization. Unity was their strength. They spoke the same language, shared common goals, and worked together to create something great. The land of Shinar was ideal for establishing a new society. Its fertile soil and abundant resources promised prosperity for those who settled there. As they began their work, it seemed like a hopeful chapter in human history. The people of Babylon were determined to build a civilization that could endure the test of time. However, this shared dream soon turned into a dangerous pursuit of power. The city, meant to be a symbol of human unity, was now tainted by the seeds of pride and arrogance. The ambition of the Babylonians soon reached new heights, literally. They decided to build a tower that reached the heavens, a structure that would be a monument to their greatness. The goal was not just to create an impressive architectural feat, but to establish a legacy that would rival the power of the gods. The book of Genesis reveals their true intentions when it says, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves." Genesis 11:4. At the heart of the Babylonian project was a desire to challenge the divine order. They were not merely trying to create something impressive. They were trying to make a statement, one that declared they no longer needed God's help to succeed. They believed that through their collective effort, they could accomplish anything, even reaching the heavens. As the tower grew taller, so did their pride. The more they built, the more they defied God's sovereignty. Every brick placed in the tower seemed to say, "We are in control of our destiny. We don't need God." This was a society where pride was not only accepted, but encouraged. It was a city built on the idea that human ambition could and should trump divine will. But God, who saw the intentions behind this great project, decided to intervene. The Tower of Babel, instead of being a monument to human achievement, became a symbol of humanity's arrogance. God recognized that the unity of the Babylonians, while impressive, was being used for sinful purposes. They were not just building a tower, they were building their own empire, an empire that could be independent of God's guidance and rule. In Genesis 11:6, God says, "If as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." This verse illustrates the true danger of the Babylonian project. Their unity, when driven by pride, could lead to self-destruction. If left unchecked, their ambition could spiral out of control and bring about disastrous consequences. In an act of divine wisdom, God decided to scatter the people and confuse their language. The once united city was suddenly in chaos. People could no longer communicate with one another. The workers, who had once collaborated seamlessly, now found themselves unable to understand each other. And so, the great project ground to a halt. The downfall of Babylon serves as a powerful warning about the dangers of pride and ambition. The Babylonians believed that they could build a great empire without God. But in doing so, they ignored the limits of human capability. Their success was not due to their abilities alone, but to the resources and opportunities that God had provided them. By trying to surpass God, they found themselves scattered across the earth, their grand project left unfinished. The tower that had been meant to reach the heavens now lay in ruins, a symbol of humanity's failed attempt to take control. This story speaks to the heart of human nature, the desire for greatness, recognition, and control. But as we see from Babylon's fall, these desires can lead us astray if they are not tempered with humility and a recognition of our dependence on God. Babylon's story is not just a relic of the past, it is still relevant today. Throughout history, we have seen empires rise and fall due to the unchecked ambition of their leaders. Take, for example, the rise and fall of empires like Rome or the British Empire. These civilizations were built on pride and ambition, but they eventually crumbled when their leaders sought power for its own sake rather than for the good of their people. In our own lives, we can see the effects of pride in our desire for success, recognition, and control. While ambition is not inherently bad, it becomes dangerous when it is driven by a desire to prove ourselves superior to others or to assert our independence from God. The key takeaway here is that we must learn to balance our ambitions with humility. It is important to strive for success, but we must never forget that our achievements are ultimately gifts from God. Without humility, we risk losing everything we have worked for, just as the people of Babylon did. The story of the Tower of Babel is a cautionary tale about the dangers of human pride. It reminds us that, while we are capable of great achievements, we must always recognize our limitations and our dependence on God. True greatness comes not from building empires or making a name for ourselves, but from living in humility and following God's plan for our lives. As we reflect on the lessons of Babylon, let us ask ourselves, where are we building our own towers? Are we allowing pride and ambition to drive us? Or are we seeking God's guidance in all that we do? Let the fall of Babel serve as a reminder that without humility, we are destined to fail.